Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Clark, and it is my pleasure to be the director of the Ruth Anne Bleakney Senior Center. I started this job in August, and I can tell you I have never been as busy as I am right now. Ruth Anne has truly created a wonderful resource for the town and its seniors. It's because of her this building is as busy as it is. So we do have a really nice program put together for you, but before we start, I would like to introduce Dr. Bob Dwyer, and he's going to sing National Anthem. Come on up, Bob.
Please stand for the National Anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
No, I guess this isn't going to work. Okay, I guess the microphone's not going to work for us this morning. Thanks, Ruth Anne. Okay, so I'm going to get started with a letter that was written by Selectman Brian Murray. He is very sorry that he's not able to make it today. He is in Florida, and his son has a senior week this week at college, so he has asked me to read this letter that he has written. Dear Sue, it is with a heavy feeling of disappointment that I am unable to attend the official dedication of the Senior Center in Ruth Ann's name. It is a senior parent weekend at my son's college in Florida, with events starting today. Ruth Anne, more than anyone, would understand. She always was about family first, and she was interested and cared about my children, having known them from birth. She delighted in telling me that her sister's children were so close in age to mine and were involved in common activities. I first met Ruth Anne in 1989, I believe, when she contacted me to help her form a friends group. I had just started to get involved in some town issues, and she said that I seemed like a worker who got things done. And for the next 24 years, we worked together. We got the Friends up and running as a private, nonprofit corporation that is a strong partner with the Senior Center. Through significant obstacles and opposition, we worked to convince the townspeople of Milford that our seniors were worthy of a center that was every bit as good as they were. In 2004, this beautiful building opened to the public on land that was a former contaminated waste site, a huge improvement for the community indeed. In many ways, this building is Ruth Anne. I walk the halls and see her. Ruth Anne's presence is in every room. I can tell you the discussions we had about her ideas and plans for each one. Some I did not always agree with, but I usually relented because I saw her passion and vision for our seniors, which she saw as her second family. I last saw Ruth Ann at her home days before she passed. I told her the council had recommended that the senior center be renamed in her honor, which I was so pleased about, and that I believed my board would approve it. She was brought to tears. She said that my name should be on it too, and that I was the only town official who paid attention to her. Everyone else thought she was a crazy woman in running shoes. I told her she did not always wear running shoes, and we laughed. As I was leaving, she said she had to work on her grant because the deadline was near. That was Ruth Ann, always working to make the town of Milford a better place for our seniors. I miss her calls when she needed someone to vent to about the daily tussles over Hannaford's donated bread. Trust me, nothing's gotten better. I miss our meetings when we would work through some thorny town issues as it related to the senior center. I miss her talks at the volunteer recognition luncheon that always revolved around a story or poem she found somewhere. But mostly, I miss my friend. Very truly yours, Brian W. Murray. And I think Brian, I know he's here in spirit. He apologized that he wasn't able to make it, but Ruth Ann and Brian were very close. So I know that he will delight to see this. Cable TV's here, so I know he'll be watching it. Next in line, we have Timothy Harvey. He is the district director for Senator Moore's office. Timothy, if you could come up, please.
Good morning. I'm Senator Moore's district director. Unfortunately, because of an obligation at the State House, he wasn't able to be here today. But if you just picture his face onto mine, I'm going to read a letter from him, so it'll be like he's here regardless. Similarities are unparalleled. The town of Milford, especially its senior citizen community, lost one of its greatest assets last year. Ruth Ann was not only a model employee, but a leading advocate for Milford seniors. It is therefore very fitting that the Board of Selectmen has authorized the renaming of this senior center in Ruth Ann's name. A community is, in a large part, defined by the manner in which it serves, treats, and promotes the quality of life of its elders. As the home of many retirees and senior citizens, Milford has a long-standing tradition of caring for and preserving the dignity of its elders, and that starts at the Milford Senior Center. For more than 2 decades, Ruth Ann carried the torch of that tradition. Ruth Ann breathed life into the Milford Senior Center, priding herself on a well-managed staff and organizing many beneficial programs and events for the senior community. More importantly, Ruth Ann's efforts help keep senior citizens young in spirit and healthy in body and mind. Ruth Ann provided a fine example of how a senior center should operate through her quality leadership and outstanding dedication to the senior community. Ruth Ann was no stranger to me and my legislative colleagues. I was pleased to work with Ruth Ann on several initiatives for the benefit of the senior center. My staff and I also worked with Ruth Ann throughout the years on various issues affecting individual seniors and their families. The existence of this renovated facility in which you are sitting today is in large part due to Ruth Ann's collaboration with fellow state and local officials. In the coming years, Milford's senior population will grow and transform. The baby boomers will take the place of the greatest generation, and as a result, seniors will need the support of a strong senior center and Council on Aging to assist with their growing and changing needs and to help them stay young in spirit and healthy in body and mind. By dedicating this senior center in Ruth Ann's name, her memory, energy, and commitment to the senior community will live on and therefore symbolize Milford's strong commitment to serving its senior citizen population today and the decades to come. I joined Senator Moore's staff less than a year ago, so unfortunately I didn't know Ruth Ann personally, but through his words and through what I've heard here already this morning, I'm certainly at a loss for not knowing her personally. And I want to thank you for allowing me to be here to speak, and Susan, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, next in line we have John Fernandez, if you don't mind, coming and say a few words. John is our state representative. Thank you, John.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out today, and thank you, Sue. These programs only operate if you have somebody willing to dedicate their time to this cause and not receive the kind of compensation that they could probably get somewhere else dedicating the same amount of time. So the commitment that somebody has to make to run a program like the senior citizens programs that are run out of this facility, the elder programs, the various resource programs. Sue, it's been a seamless transition from Ruth Anne to Sue, and she's doing a great job, and I want to congratulate and applaud her for the work that she's done. I had, you know, when I hear Brian talk about 1988 to 2013 or 2014, the only thing I can think about is where has it all gone? You know, one of my favorite lines from a book I read is that the days are long, but the years are short. We go home every day at the end of the day exhausted from what feels like the longest day, one after the other. And then we turn around and January becomes December and 1988 becomes 2014, and we ask ourselves, where the heck did all of that go? So it's hard for me to look back and think of the transition from what was to what is today. I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of other legislators, obviously, and to a number of people from state elder affairs offices and various programs who travel around the state. And universally, when I talk to anyone at the state level or other legislators who have been to Milford and participated in a program in this senior center, they are envious of the building, but importantly, they're envious because of what can go on inside that building. And that's the important piece. We can build all the buildings we want. We can make them as beautiful as we want them to be. Unless we fill those buildings with people, and thank you all for being here, unless we fill them with programs that draw people, then they're not going to be worth the money that we put into them. This building is worth all the money we put into it because of the work of people like Ruth Anne, in particular, the Friends and the Council for the work they do in supporting it. Ruth Anne was one of those unique characters you meet in life, without question. Even though I knew when the phone rang and it was Ruth Anne on the other end, there was an ask coming, I had to smile because I knew it would be an engaging conversation. And more often than not, right about this time of year, I would be getting a call because it's budget time at the State House, and right now it's House budget time at the State House. So I would get the call that said, John, you know, the governor has cut back on the resources, and we're talking literally nickels and dimes, which is one of the things that has always impressed me about the work that people like Ruth Anne do in senior centers, is that we spend, and appropriately so, thousands and thousands of dollars on educating our children. And when you make a change, it's usually a change that's moving in hundreds to thousands of dollars to how much you spend on each child. When we talk about what we spend in senior centers, we talk about dollars, literally, that we spend. And when talking about, honestly, nickel and dime moves in the budget. And yet, the advocacy was as strong or stronger by somebody like Ruth to say we need those nickels and dimes because of the difference that they make. So her loss is a loss to all of us. Without question, she was and remains in our memory a person who helped make this happen, helped make it a success, and to her family. We share your loss even a year later for the passing of Ruth. But people will come and people will go. And you can only be what you are during that time you have. Maybe that's a little too existentialist for us, but that's what you get. You get that period of time to make a difference. And we know that Ruth Anne made that difference in the time that she was here. So to her family, thank you. Thank you for sharing her with us. And we move on, and Sue will, I know, carry on the legacy of what Ruth Anne delivered to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. All right, moving right along, Emmett. Emmett's here. Emmett is the program Manager for the Council on Aging, the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. Emmett and Ruth Ann go way back, so I'm sure he'll have something very interesting to share with us.
Good morning. I'm talking to this thing, but frankly, you'll hear it this way. So it was kind of funny. I'm the program manager for Councils on Aging and Senior Centers for the Commonwealth, and that involves 349 councils on aging, 290 plus senior centers. It's a lot. And you know what? There's no 2 days that are identical when you're working with seniors. It just doesn't happen. People think when you age, certain kinds of things happen. Things happen every day. And I think the important part about having a senior center is it provides opportunities. And I think that's really important, because people think aging means a certain thing. It means what you want it to mean. And that's really important, because you're not there to, I used to say that when I do trainings, they're usually 2.5 hours. So Dolores says, talk a few minutes. It's like, well. But it's, you have to realize that you're not there to fill in the blanks. You're there to write a story. It is your story. This is the story of what Ruth Ann did, of what you all did to make sure that we're here today. I was the other day I was here at 7:30 for, and I ran into Bob Remy, and he was here at 7:30, after he'd been here probably since 7, and said, I said, well, tell me about Ruth Ann. She says, well, when I come here at 7 o'clock in the morning, she's here already. And he says, when I come back sometimes at the end of the day, like 6:30, 7 o'clock, she's still here. You get somewhere because you put yourself where your heart is, and that's what she did for so many years. I don't even recall when she started, but I've been through actually 3 senior center developments in Milford, because I go back, I'm in my 38th year at Elder Affairs, and I've just seen this transformation, and it's such a pleasure. It's an honor to work with somebody like Ruth Ann and people who made this center happen. You always knew where Ruth Ann stood. The representative made a comment about when she calls, it's an ask. Yep, you can bet on it. It's predictable, but you want to do it too. The question is just finding a way. And it was always, Ruth Ann would ask me, what's like trying to organize regional transportation or something. And she says, I don't know where we'll get the money. And I'd ask her and say, well, but I'll get it. And she always did. And I didn't know that. I don't think she even knew when she said, yes, we're going to do it. She just made it happen. Other things that you might or might not know, and I don't know whether Sue would mention along the way, but the SHINE program. This is the headquarters of the regional SHINE program. Covers entire Worcester County, so it serves 61 cities and towns out of here. What does the SHINE program mean? Anybody here participate in the SHINE program? Anybody? You have benefit? Okay, SHINE program. If you want to help keep your insurance in order, what you need to move forward and make sure that you're getting appropriate benefits and stuff, it's the SHINE program. They're free. They're volunteers. Ed Roth is here. I'm happy to acknowledge it, because he besides being the chair of the Council on Aging, you've got a lot of people who are here because of Ruth Ann. She was president of SAMACA, Central Mass Association of Councils on Aging, that covered Worcester County. I was going to say, when she wasn't exercising her heart of gold, she was wearing her silver sneakers garb. That never really went away. It was just so funny. She was so proud to be photographed. I would take photographs a lot. She's got her outfit. She had it. She wanted to wear it. She was very proud of what she did, and was always accompanying seniors elsewhere to get their exercise in Worcester County, elsewhere. Fine. This place is not simply a welcome for seniors. It is a home away from home. Now, I don't know how many of you have been in the senior center before today, right? Pretty much everybody's been, okay? I have a question. How many of you have been here? How many of you know somebody at least 80 years of age who won't go to a senior center because there's old people there? Right? I mean, we just have this problem of thinking that age means, I'm going to say for want of a better word, decrepitude. That's nonsense. Age means what you want to make it, because what you're here for is opportunities. It has nothing to do with age. In fact, it was Eleanor Roosevelt who said, we become old only when we stop making a contribution. And I believe I've seen young people old, and I've seen old people who will never die, because it really is about opportunities. Last but not least, there's two things. I'd like to recognize her love and devotion to her family. It was no question family came first, no matter what else that it was on Ruth Ann's mind. Family was first. I wrote a poem, and I'd like to present this, if I could, to Elizabeth Zavales, if I may. Every time a director, I've been in elder affairs for a long time, every time a director leaves, I usually have time to read it to the director when she's retired. I did not have this opportunity, but I'd like to read it and perhaps present it to you if you wouldn't mind. The poem's entitled Public Service in Appreciation of Ruth Anne Bleakney. How do you measure someone who's been in public service? It's not height, it's not weight, and it's certainly not age. The measure would be in the difference of the lives you engage. You, speaking of Ruth Anne, you were an entrepreneur, organizer, advocate, engager, and guide. But consider the Iditarod. Everybody knows Iditarod, right? But consider the Iditarod. Only the lead dog has a decent view. What a ride. You found resolution in problems and opportunities in disguises and absorbed all news, errant conclusions, fears, disappointments, and love among 1,000 shocks and surprises. You supported, revealed, and encouraged possibilities. You thought and stretched the budget outside the box. But mostly you had only one end of the phone, the other end over which you had no control. Seniors were your compass, your time frame, the calendar, not the clock. Never a dull moment, it was true. And so much of what happens is hidden from view. But what matters most are relationships that keep our days new, for what is life without connections? Thank you for your many courtesies, warmth, hospitality, enthusiasm, and imagination. It was a pleasure working with you. I salute your serving others with knowledge, vision, caring, compassion, professionalism, and gentle good humor. I was glad to call you a friend. For that, there is no measure. With gratitude and affection. If I may present it to you. Thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure to have worked with the community for so long, and I look forward to continue to do it. Thank you again. And Sue, thank you.
Thank you, Emmett. You're a tough act to follow. Next, we have Mary Kay Brown. Mary Kay is the manager of special projects for the Mass Council on Aging. Mary Kay.
Good morning. I am so thrilled to be part of this ceremony and this tribute to Ruth Anne. I wrote down my remarks because I tend to get emotional and carried away at meaningful events when I'm touched by the purpose for the day. So, to be a superior public servant, as Ruth Anne was, you must be ever hopeful, fiercely dedicated, and tirelessly persistent. And Ruth Anne possessed all those three qualities. I want her family and her colleagues from Milford to know that she is fondly remembered by people throughout the county, Worcester County, and across the Commonwealth, because she had a large footprint in Milford, but she also had a large footprint throughout her region and the state. At the local level, she was very well known and respected for managing a full array of social service programs no matter what the facility was. First, the two-room social senior center across the way, and then this beautiful building. And she certainly had a great impact on improving the quality of life of older adults in Milford for all those years. But regionally, she's remembered by her other Council on Aging peers as being a tremendous mentor, always willing to share her learnings and experience and best practices as newer senior center directors were coming along. She was, as Emmett said, the president of SAMACA, which is a regional association of councils on aging. I came to know Ruth Anne because SAMACA signed on a contract with the Executive Office of Elder Affairs to manage the regional health benefits counseling program. I was the then state director, and I met Ruth Anne when she was still at the old center. And she didn't show me the blueprints, but she told me a little bit about how long the town community had been working towards the development of a new building. And she had a light in her eye, and I thought, well, I'd love to see that when it happens. And boy, did it happen. And I had the pleasure of having a walk-through tour by Ruth Anne when that regional SHINE benefits counseling program and staff, she carved a home for it. Then, when we needed it sorely, she stepped in, and then she made a space for those SHINE staff here. And now there's a beautiful space on the second floor that she and the Friends and the town of Milford have continued to support. So I am, personally grateful to her that she stepped forward when we needed a home, and that she's continued to be true to that program now almost 15 years. So residents across Worcester County can be grateful to Ruth Anne for stepping in to manage that program. Across the state, Ruth Anne has been a steady and active member of the Association of Councils on Aging and Senior Center Directors. That's the organization that I'm from. But it's a membership organization in which leaders like Ruth Anne share their life's lessons and learnings with others. We're basically organized to provide training and supports to improve the skills of social service directors, and through that, their capacity to manage meaningful, important programs across the state. She was an active member of the advisory board and then the board itself. So statewide, she is well known and remembered. And then even beyond our social services network of senior center directors, all of the guests, because this has become a meeting place for a lot of social service organizations, guests come to this beautiful building and see what it means to have top drawer, excellent building and space for what needs to be done to improve the lives of older adults. And finally, I always admired her because of her clear commitment to achieving excellence. And she did that both for herself, to herself, which is demonstrated by the fact that she was one of the early senior center directors that sought certification for her profession. And then clearly, she's committed to achieving excellence by her doggedness and persistence in working with so many others to build this building. It's a wonderful tribute to dedicate this building in her name and memory. And by so doing, future citizens and professionals can know of the amazing contributions that Ruth Anne made to this town and this region and this state. So thank you very much for making this decision, and I'm just pleased to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Some beautiful things are being said. I'm very touched by all of it. Next, we have Dr. Robert Dwyer. He's the Executive Director of Central Mass Agency on Aging.
Thank you, Sue. A couple things before I actually begin. Emmett, I'm very disappointed that
public service and goodness in public service cannot be measured by weight, because that would be a wonderful opportunity for me. And I also think it's a very interesting and wonderful opportunity that now we dedicate this in honor of Ruth Anne, because this is also the 10th year of the dedication of the Senior Center overall. So now the Senior Center has been open for 10 years, and we now name it for Ruth Anne. Ruth Anne was one of a kind. And for those of you who didn't know her, you know what I mean. She was singular in all that she did. She was single-minded in her work for the people, not just who came to the Senior Center, but for all the seniors, all the older persons and caregivers of the town of Milford. She believed in what she did. She believed in her goals, and she sought to fulfill them each and every day. She really became, let me digress. I met Ruth Anne over 20 years ago. And I was working for a local nursing home directing a program, and I came down to ask her if I could have an opportunity to address the people who are coming to the Senior Center, and she said, no. I found out later that if I had brought breakfast for everybody, she would have let me in. But she was protective of the people who came here. She was aware of scams before we even had a word for scams. She knew that people would come in and try to sell things to people who might not understand exactly what they were buying. And so Ruth Anne was protective. And she also knew, as other folks have said, that what makes a senior center is the people who are in it and the programs and the service that are offered. And she sought to make this senior center the best senior center in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I think she came pretty damn close. At the Area Agency on Aging, we work with 61 communities. And I have been to all the senior centers and councils on aging in those 61 cities and towns. And there are plenty of good senior centers and plenty of good senior center directors, but none like we have had here in Milford. Ruth Anne finally let me in, but not to talk to the seniors. By the time I got to the Area Agency on Aging in West Boylston, that's when she let me in, because she knew at that point that I was not in as a salesman, that I was in also to serve people, that I was in also to help people. And so I was able to come back here, and she invited me to become part of the Council on Aging. And at that point, I was able to get breakfast instead of bring breakfast. So it was always a good thing. But what I have learned over the course of all these years and all these visits to these senior centers is that Ruth Anne really was the archetype for senior center directors. Every time I would visit another senior center, a director would say to me, "Oh, where do you live?" And I would say, "Milford." "Oh, do you know Ruth Anne?" Well, how could I not know Ruth Anne? She said no more to me than almost anybody else. I came to know that she was strong, but she was fair. She was forthright. She was square with you, but she was also compassionate. She could be stern. I'm sure a lot of you know that. I'm sure the staff knows that. I'm sure the volunteers know that. And yet she was tender. She was tender when she talked about family. She was tender when she talked about dogs. And she often asked about my dog. And I regret that I never got the dog down here to meet her, because she wanted to meet my Disney. I know it's a weird name. Don't worry about it. So for me, that's Ruth Anne. Strong and compassionate, forthright but fair, stern but tender. She was all those things and more. And yes, she ran a good senior center, and she had a good staff with Dolores and Marie and Jonna and all the volunteers that were part of that. And she loved her volunteers. The volunteer dinner that's held every year is very, very important for all of us. And she made sure that each and every volunteer dinner, everything was just right. Even those soup bowls that were always so hot, you couldn't hold them. But they were the right temperature. On this plaque, it says, "The seniors of Milford had no better friend than Ruth Anne Bleakney." And that's true. So for the 20 years, that I knew Ruth Anne, I could say the same thing about her and the Senior Center. But when it came to Senior Center directors and it comes to helping seniors, if I needed help, Ruth Anne was there to help me. And when it comes to the service that I try to offer, I have had no better friend than Ruth Anne Bleakney. My major regret is that I never really got to say goodbye to Ruth Anne. We exchanged a couple emails before she got really sick. But everything was so sudden, with the illness and death of her daughter and then her own illness following up on that. It was very, very difficult. It was difficult for all of us on the Council on Aging. It was difficult for Dolores and Jonna and Marie. It was difficult for everyone. And so I take this opportunity to say to the family, or to say to Ruth Anne through the family, this goodbye. And this is how I will end this talk. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm is the golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with a hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to introduce Rick Villani. He is the Town of Milford's town administrator. He has a letter that he would like to read from our Chairman of Selectmen, Dino DeBartolomeus. He's unable to make it today, so Rick has a letter that Dino has prepared.
It's an impossible speech to follow, by the way. Chairman DeBartolome regrets that he could not be here today, but he did want to share a few words with each and every one of you here today. Dear Kenneth, Elizabeth, family, Sue, Board of Trustees, seniors, and friends, I am very sorry that I could not be with all of you today. Today we officially name this beautiful and proud edifice the Ruth Anne Bleakney Senior Center. Ruth Anne was a kind, passionate, conscientious woman who genuinely cared for the well-being of all our seniors. Ruth Ann was totally devoted and committed to the elderly of this community. As far back as 30 years ago, Ruth Ann would always mention to me that the seniors deserved a new, spacious, and bright building with all the programs, services, health, and educational needs available. She never gave up on her dream, and today we have a magnificent meeting place in which all our seniors can gather, participate in a plethora of programs and activities, reminisce with friends about the old days, enjoy a healthy and substantive meal, and maybe even win a few dollars with bingo. He promises not to say a word to the chief. So with Ruth Ann's perseverance, knowledge, and vision, and with the help of many fine people, we now have this remarkable building that will be a true testament to the seniors who really made this country great and taught all of us about what is really important in life. Ruth Ann left us way too early. I'm sure she is looking down from heaven and is most content, honored, and at the same time truly humbled by all the accolades. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I thank you for this opportunity to say a few words, and God bless Ruth Ann, all the dedicated residents who made this day possible, and thank you to our special senior citizens who deserve this tribute as well. Sincerely, Dino de Bartolome's Chairman, Milford Board of Selectmen. I did not have the pleasure and honor of meeting Ruth Ann. I did speak with many of those who worked with her, who knew her well. After listening to them and hearing all of the prior speakers, I'm sure this is a much and well-deserved honor. Thank you for letting me be a small part of it.
Thank you, Rick. Now, it is my pleasure and honor to ask Elizabeth and Ken if you would take our plaque and our photo of your mother and your wife and hang it in the hall where it'll be left forever so we can have a constant reminder of how wonderful your mother and your wife was. Everyone, please enjoy the coffee and the pastry.